If you don't learn how to stay calm when it hurts, the world will always control you. That's the truth most people never hear. The moment something goes wrong, they react. They lose their temper, they fall apart, they post about it, they explain it, they make it the center of their day. But here's the thing, life doesn't stop moving just because you're struggling. And if you want to rise, if you want to earn real respect, if you want to lead your own life with strength, you must learn to carry yourself like nothing can break you, even when it hurts. This video isn't about pretending. It's about learning how to stay in control when life doesn't cooperate. It's about building the discipline to stay consistent, calm and confident, especially when the pressure is high. You're going to learn how to stop looking for sympathy and start leading yourself. How to walk into your day with power, how to speak with strength when emotions try to shake you, and how to become the kind of person who doesn't fall apart when life gets difficult. If you want to build a mindset that's unshakable, a presence that earns quiet respect, and a future that's built on self-control instead of emotional reaction, this is your message. Stay with me. This one matters. Number 1, train your attitude to never beg for sympathy. When something goes wrong, most people look around and wait for comfort. They look for someone to tell them it's going to be okay. That habit might feel good for a moment, but it builds weakness. You have to train yourself to rise without waiting for that voice. If you wait too long for someone to feel sorry for you, you'll lose time and momentum. That's how leaders are built. Quietly, in the hard moments. Your attitude is your personal foundation. It's the one thing you carry into every situation, whether it's fair or not. The stronger it gets, the less you rely on others to hold you up. When you're solid inside, you won't need to explain every struggle you go through. You'll simply get to work. You won't wait for understanding. You move forward because that's what strong people do. Weak people hope someone notices. Strong people decide it doesn't matter if they do or not. Strength grows when you stop needing others to approve your effort or acknowledge your pain. The best people you know, the ones you admire, are never the ones who talk about how hard it is. They're the ones who keep showing up. They do the work whether they're hurting or not. They show up without the need for sympathy. Why? Because they've trained their attitude. They've made the decision, I won't build my life on excuses. That mindset is rare, but it's available to anyone who's willing to let go of the habit of complaining. Growth begins the moment you choose responsibility over comfort. The sooner you decide, the stronger you become. When you ask for sympathy, you give away your strength. You're saying, I need someone else to help me feel okay. That's not a position of power. That's a position of dependency. And if you live there too long, you forget how to move forward without permission. You begin to believe you're not capable unless someone cheers for you. That belief will stop you from ever becoming something better. You must learn to face hard moments with dignity. You must learn to walk through pressure with silence and self-control. Those who don't beg for attention rise faster than those who do. There's nothing wrong with needing help, but there is something wrong with expecting pity. Pity lowers your value. It keeps you tied to your struggle. And worse, it becomes addictive. The more people feel sorry for you, the more you start depending on it. You begin shaping your identity around struggle instead of strength. That's dangerous. It's a trap. Real growth means standing up without demanding comfort from others. Real power is when you quietly rebuild yourself day after day without making it everyone else's responsibility. If you want real confidence, stop looking for sympathy and start building strength. You can be hurting and still be focused. You can be going through something and still get results. That's the discipline you want. Life won't wait for you to feel better. Life rewards those who keep showing up even when they don't feel ready. The strongest people in the world have one thing in common. They've stopped telling their story like a victim. They've learned to carry their pain without asking others to carry it with them. They feel everything, but they act on what matters. That's not about being fake. That's about growing up. That's about being solid. Some people will say, You should speak up more about what you're going through, and sometimes that's true. But most of the time, people speak too much and act too little. It's easy to talk about pain. It's harder to show discipline. The strongest form of communication is action. Show people what you believe by how you live. Show people what you're made of by how you carry yourself. Let your consistency speak louder than your complaints. That's how you stand out. That's how you earn respect. Not by asking for it, but by earning it through how you show up. Stop posting your pain for applause. Stop turning every bad day into a public announcement. That won't help you grow. What helps is training your mind to think clearly when emotions are high. What helps is choosing your next action instead of waiting for someone else to validate your feelings. Everyone struggles, but not everyone fights. You want to be one of the few who fights. You want to be one of the few who decides, I'm not going to stay here. I'm not going to beg to feel better. I'm going to fix what I can and move forward. You've got to decide who you want to be when life hits you. Anyone can talk strong when things are easy. That's where real strength starts. And if you fail the test, don't worry, you can retake it. That's what training your attitude means. It's not about being perfect. It's about not giving up. It's about not using your emotions as an excuse. It's about rebuilding your mental foundation brick by brick, even when the world doesn't notice or care. Because this life rewards people who choose to be unshakable. There's honor in choosing silence over self-pity. There's power in holding your ground when everything inside you wants to quit. That kind of control doesn't just show up one day. It comes from small, daily decisions. Every time you hold your emotions steady instead of reaching for attention, you get stronger. Every time you focus on your goals instead of your feelings, you gain ground. That's what builds a solid person. Not what they say, not what they post, but how they carry themselves through the dark times. Don't beg to be seen. Become someone worth watching. That's the real reward. Number 2, develop emotional control that commands respect and power. If you want people to take you seriously, you have to learn to take charge of your emotions. Emotional control is not about hiding how you feel. It's about making sure your feelings don't ruin your decisions. When you let your emotions run wild, people notice. They stop trusting your judgment. They see you as unstable, impulsive, maybe even dramatic. But when you stay grounded, when you're calm, even in tough moments, you stand out. You become someone others can count on. You create the kind of presence that doesn't demand respect, it naturally earns it. That's what emotional control gives you: power without needing to force it, and influence without needing to ask for it. Now, here's what most people do wrong. They think showing emotions in every moment makes them honest or authentic. But there's a difference between being real and being reactive. Just because something upsets you doesn't mean you have to show it. Just because someone disrespects you doesn't mean you have to respond with anger. That's not strength, that's losing control. And when you lose control, often you lose opportunities, you lose the chance to lead, you lose the trust of the people watching you. Because emotional outbursts don't build anything. They destroy things. They damage relationship, burn bridges, and slow your progress. You're going to have people who misunderstand you. You're going to deal with moments that feel unfair. But if every time you feel frustrated, you let it show, you're going to keep hitting the same walls. What separates the people who rise from the people who stay stuck is this: the ability to feel deeply, but act wisely. To feel angry, but speak with clarity. To feel hurt, but move with purpose. That's emotional control. That's the skill that changes how the world sees you. It's what makes people want to follow you. It's what makes people listen when you speak. The people you respect the most, think about them. They're not the ones who panic in tough times. They're not the ones who raise their voice when things go wrong. They're the ones who stay calm. They keep their voice steady. They don't let emotions take over the moment. That calm presence makes people feel safe around them. That steady attitude makes others trust them. And that trust turns into opportunity influence, and long-term results. If you want to move forward in your life, you need more than skill. You need self-control. You need to be the kind of person others can depend on, especially when things aren't going well. Don't misunderstand this. Emotional control doesn't mean you ignore your feelings. It means you don't let your feelings take the lead. It means you feel the emotion, but you pause before you react. You give yourself space to think. You ask yourself, will this reaction help me or hurt me? That pause, that little moment of awareness, that's where the power is. That's where maturity lives. And if you can develop that habit, that practice of checking your emotions before you act, you'll be shocked how quickly your life improves. Your relationships get better. Your decisions get smarter. Your results get stronger. You won't always feel calm. Some situations will push your buttons. Some people will trigger emotions you didn't even know you had. But that's where the work begins. Emotional control is not something you're born with. It's a discipline. You develop it by paying attention. You build it by holding back when it would be easier to react. You sharpen it every time you choose a measured response over an emotional outburst. It's like a mental muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And over time, it becomes part of who you are. You stop reacting like the old version of you. You start responding like someone who's in charge of their future. You'll start to see the results in your everyday life. People will treat you differently. They'll speak to you with more respect. You'll start attracting better opportunities because people will see you as someone who's stable, grounded, and reliable. And in a world full of chaos, that's rare. That's valuable. You'll notice your relationships improve. Arguments will turn into discussions. Frustration will turn into problem solving. You won't waste energy on regretful reactions. Instead, you'll stay focused on your goals. You'll stay on track while others are busy getting caught up in their emotions. That's what emotional control gives you: peace on the inside and respect on the outside. Now think about what happens when someone loses control. They say things they can't take back. They hurt people they care about. They make decisions that damage their reputation. And then they spend weeks or months trying to fix what they broke in 10 seconds of emotion. That's a painful way to live, but the truth is, most of that pain could have been avoided with one skill: the ability to pause and choose a better reaction. That's the edge. That's what turns a moment of weakness into a moment of power. That's what builds a life you don't have to clean up later. So if you're serious about growing, if you want to lead, if you want to build something meaningful, make emotional control your daily goal. Don't just work on your talents. Don't just focus on your schedule. Work on your mind. Work on your responses. Catch yourself when you start to lose control, and take a step back. Ask yourself, what would the stronger version of me do right now? And then do that over and over. Not once, every day, until it becomes natural, until people start saying, there's something different about you. That difference is discipline. That difference is maturity. That difference is power. And when people feel that from you, when they see you in a difficult situation and you stay calm, when they hear your voice and it's steady, when they watch you stay focused under pressure, they will respect you. They won't say much, but they'll notice. And that kind of respect is worth more than any loud reaction. It lasts, it follows you, it creates trust, loyalty, and opportunity. That's what emotional control gives you. Not just peace of mind, but real power, quiet power. And once you taste that, you'll never go back to begging for respect. You'll carry it. You'll become the person people look to when things are falling apart. And that's how leaders are made. Number 3, show consistency even when life gets unpredictable. You don't build a great life by showing up only when things are easy. That's not how it works. Anyone can be consistent when everything goes according to plan. The real test comes when life stops cooperating, when your plans fall apart, when your emotions run low. That's when you find out what kind of person you are. If you wait for smooth days, you'll always be waiting. But if you learn how to keep doing the work, even on the hard days, you'll separate yourself from the crowd. That's where the shift begins, from average to excellent. Too many people fall into the habit of starting strong and finishing weak. They say they want change, but only when it's convenient. The moment a challenge shows up, they pause. The moment discomfort shows up, they stop. Consistency doesn't care about your mood, it's about discipline. You either stick to what matters or you don't. You either finish what you begin or you don't. You don't get points for trying, you get results for staying the course. That's the truth. The world rewards those who are consistent, not those who are occasionally committed. Think about your habits, not when you're excited, but when you're tired. That's the version of you that decides your future. The person who still gets up early when they don't feel like it, the one who shows up prepared, even when they're behind. The one who honors their goals, even when nobody's watching. That version of you is rare, and rare always gets noticed. It's not about being the best on day 1, it's about showing up on day 20, day 50, day 200. When others have quit, when others have lost focus, that's when consistency starts to shine. There's something powerful about building your own rhythm. Not a rhythm controlled by distractions or problems, but one driven by values. When you move by decision instead of reaction, your days become productive, even the difficult ones. Most people bounce from one emotion to the next, wondering why they never make progress. It's because they haven't learned how to be steady. You want to be the kind of person who does what needs to be done, even when it's uncomfortable. You want your reputation to say, this person finishes, not this person makes excuses. That's a difference that matters. When life changes, don't disappear. That's what most people do. They start strong, something unexpected happens, and they go silent. You can't let setbacks become your routine. If your process breaks every time life gets messy, you'll be rebuilding forever. But if you can stay steady, just steady, when things are shifting around you, you'll gain ground others can't see. You'll look back later and be proud. Not because you avoided hardship, but because you didn't stop when it came. That kind of strength stays with you, and people around you will feel it. They'll know you're not like everyone else. You don't need perfect days to make progress. You need a standard. A personal standard that doesn't bend when circumstances do. One that says, no matter what happens, I keep going. Whether you're sad, overwhelmed, confused, or uncertain, it doesn't matter. You go back to your basics. You focus on what's in front of you. You show up with the energy you have. You don't fake it, and you don't wait for inspiration. You move with intention. That's how you turn tough weeks into productive ones. And that's how you earn long-term results, by showing up through the unpredictable. Some days you'll feel like you've lost control. The schedule falls apart. People cancel on you. Nothing flows the way you expected. That's when your habits must carry you. You rely on the structure you built when things were stable, because emotional people quit. Emotional people waste time blaming circumstances. Disciplined people reset. They adapt, but they don't disappear. You've got to be someone who builds their system so strong that even when you're not at your best, you're still moving. That's the edge. That's the reason some win and others stay stuck in the same cycle for years. You don't need to be extreme, you need to be consistent. One good choice every day, repeated over time, is more valuable than one perfect day once a month. Consistency beats intensity when intensity doesn't last. This isn't about being impressive once. It's about being reliable always. That's how trust is built. That's how businesses grow. That's how your health improves. That's how your goals are met. You stick to your word, not because it's easy, but because it matters. The world pays attention to people who follow through. Because most people don't. Most people talk, but you can be different. Even if your day goes completely wrong, don't lose the whole week. Even if you fail one morning, recover by afternoon. You're not perfect, but you're in control. And people who learn to bounce back fast become leaders. Not because they avoid failure, but because they don't stay in it. They fix it. They get back to their schedule. They rebuild momentum before it dies. That mindset, that quick recovery, is a sign of growth. It means you're not driven by comfort. You're driven by direction. You're not held hostage by one bad moment. You stay focused on the bigger picture. The longer you stay consistent, the stronger your future becomes. Every small effort adds weight to your progress, even when you don't see it, even when it feels slow. And while others keep pausing and restarting, you're stacking days, stacking actions, building something stable. That's how you win. Quietly, repeatedly, without needing applause, without needing the weather to be perfect, without needing everything to feel right. You just keep going. That's the person who earns success. That's the person people trust, not because they're the loudest, but because they're still here when others are gone. And that's the difference consistency makes. Number 4, act calm in public even when you're struggling inside. There's something powerful about being steady when the situation isn't. People won't always know what you're carrying. They won't feel your pressure. They won't see the doubts you wrestled with this morning. But they will watch how you carry yourself. They'll observe your presence. That's why it's important to keep your posture, your tone, and your reactions steady in public, not to be fake, but to be responsible. When you present strength, even while managing pain inside, you prove to yourself that emotions don't control your behavior. You lead yourself first, and that kind of personal leadership earns quiet respect. The ones who stay calm in difficult settings don't do it by accident. They've trained their emotions. They've built the habit of keeping their words clean and their reactions measured, even when life feels off track. That's not hiding, that's maturity. Everyone struggles, but those who can manage the pressure with grace are the ones people trust in the long run. You don't need to unload every feeling on everyone around you. Keep your balance. Not because you're pretending to be fine, but because you value your energy too much to waste it on public outbursts. When your private world feels heavy, don't let it shake your behavior in front of others. You can still hold yourself together. Even when things aren't going well, you can walk with your shoulders back. You can speak clearly and look people in the eye. That's a signal, not to them, but to yourself, that you're still in control. The more often you hold that line, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, you won't need to think about being calm. It will become part of how you move, speak, and lead. And that consistency builds quiet authority. People often think strength means sharing everything you feel, but wisdom teaches a different lesson. Not every emotion needs an audience. Not every frustration needs to be voiced in the moment. Will struggle. You can acknowledge your struggle internally without turning it into a performance. That discipline protects your peace. It allows you to keep your focus on what needs to be done instead of constantly processing your emotions out loud. The best part is, over time, your emotions start following your example. You remain calm long enough, and even the loudest internal voices start to quiet down. Real presence comes from emotional discipline. You could be in the middle of a personal battle, yet walk into a room and lead with clarity. That's not deception. That's power. It shows you're capable of rising above your feelings when it counts. People don't want to follow someone who reacts to everything. They want stability. They want to see that even when life gets hard, you won't fall apart. So the next time life hits you privately, don't let it hijack your public behavior. Stay composed. Finish your responsibility. Handle your emotion in a space designed for healing, not performance. You're not hiding from your problems when you stay calm. You're containing them. You're choosing the right time and place to deal with them. There's wisdom in that. You're not avoiding reality. You're managing it with structure. When you make that decision, you no longer need to look composed. You are composed. Because calm is a product of standards, not circumstance. It's a decision you train into yourself. You don't owe your emotions to every room you walk into. You owe those rooms your best self, even if that best self is still healing. That's a responsibility worth honoring. If every time something goes wrong, your energy spills into your conversations, you'll leave people uncertain about you. They won't know which version of you they're getting, and over time that affects your influence. Stability builds trust. That doesn't mean being robotic or distant. It means learning to pause before speaking. It means keeping a respectful tone, even when frustrated. You keep your calm because you understand the power of consistency. Because no matter what's happening behind the scenes, your character still shows up in public. And that character either builds your credibility or chips away at it. Carrying yourself with control, especially when things are difficult, is a sign you're prepared for more. When others are overwhelmed, you're centered. When emotions are high, your voice is clear. That doesn't come from ego or denial. It comes from putting in the work privately so you can remain steady publicly. It's a quiet kind of preparation that most overlook. They think the only solution is to let everything out all the time. But those who rise know better. They know calm is a strategy, not just a state. They know that in chaos, composure is strength. The people who stand out in life aren't the ones who have the most talent. They're the ones who stay collected. When your mood doesn't match your actions, you've won a battle within yourself. That ability shows you're not controlled by how you feel. You're led by your values, your responsibilities, your bigger goals. And when that mindset becomes your default, you begin to attract the kind of opportunities, relationships, and responsibilities reserved for stable people. That's the reward. Not just looking calm, but becoming the kind of person who actually is. You owe it to yourself to develop this level of emotional strength. You'll feel more confident walking into any room because you're not worried about losing control. You've rehearsed this. You've practiced holding your voice steady, keeping your body language clear, and leading with presence. That kind of training will carry you through more storms than you can imagine. And one day, someone will ask how you stayed so calm when everything was falling apart, and you'll smile. Because you'll know you earned that calm. You built it when nobody was watching. And now, it speaks for itself. Number 5, learn to smile without needing things to be perfect. You don't need everything in life to be perfect before you decide to feel good. If you wait for that, you'll be waiting forever. Learn to carry a calm joy even when the situation is unfinished. Even when plans fall through, even when problems show up, that smile isn't fake. It's a sign of control. It means you've chosen not to let your circumstances decide your emotion. You're not ignoring reality. You're managing your attitude. That's a sign of strength. The people who learn how to keep their spirit light under pressure tend to be the ones who last the longest. There's always something that won't go your way. That's the rule, not the exception. But some people still insist on being miserable until life behaves the way they want. They punish themselves with frustration, waiting for the moment when all their problems disappear. But what if that moment never comes? You can't build a meaningful life around perfection. What you can do is build one around self-control, around perspective, around gratitude. Smiling without needing everything to line up perfectly isn't pretending, it's maturity. It's emotional independence. It's how you stay grounded in a world that's rarely in order. One of the most valuable skills you'll ever build is the ability to maintain your peace when life gives you reasons not to. That's what smiling through imperfection really is. It's the discipline of staying emotionally stable. Not because everything is good, but because you've decided to keep your attitude clean. You know what needs fixing, and you'll fix it. But you also know that being miserable doesn't speed up the process. It just drains your energy. You learn to hold both, the discomfort of imperfection and the inner calm that says, I'm okay while I work through this. If you're waiting for the perfect morning, the perfect job, the perfect relationship, or the perfect health to finally allow yourself to be happy, you've already lost. Life is mostly average days with bits of chaos and moments of beauty mixed in. Those who smile only when everything goes their way become slaves to circumstances. Their peace is conditional. But those who build inner control can stay steady. They bring light into a dark room without needing someone else to hand it to them. They don't fake joy, but they practice a mindset that keeps the spirit from collapsing. You know when you see someone who's calm, collected, and smiling in the middle of a stressful situation? That's not luck. That's practice. That's someone who has spent enough time choosing their response that it's become their nature. They've built a habit of peace. They've decided that they will not allow outside chaos to dictate their internal climate. That kind of smile, the real kind, is not cheap. It's earned through self-awareness and mental discipline. That's why it's powerful. Not because it looks good, but because it comes from someone who made a decision not to depend on perfection. When something minor goes wrong, notice how fast people lose their peace. A late message, a forgotten item, an unexpected delay, suddenly it's the end of the world, their whole energy changes. This tells you how little control most people have over themselves. They're trained by frustration, not by character. But you can flip that script. Start noticing your own habits. When plans shift, do you immediately complain? Or do you take a second to breathe, accept it, and move forward? That second of awareness is everything. That's the moment where your old patterns break and a stronger version of you steps in. Your smile should not be something the world controls. It should come from a place inside you that's built on clarity. You know what matters. You know what doesn't. You know that today will not be perfect, and that's fine. You've got work to do, a mission to stay on, people to serve. You keep a steady face not because everything is smooth, but because you're becoming the kind of person who knows how to carry pressure without losing joy. That's a rare strength, and the more you live that way, the more natural it becomes, not forced, real. You're not smiling because you're in denial. You're smiling because you've accepted what you can't control and are fully focused on what you can. That mindset turns frustration into fuel. It keeps your energy clean and your emotions clear. It protects your mind from wasting time on things that don't matter. And it teaches you how to live with power. Because when you no longer require perfection to feel steady, you've gained something most people never do: freedom. The freedom to enjoy life even when it's unfinished. The freedom to face problems without becoming one yourself. Most people never think about it, but their attitude trains others how to treat them. If you're always flustered, always reacting, always needing everything to go your way, people will start walking on eggshells around you. That's not leadership. That's emotional immaturity. But when your presence is calm, even in difficulty, people start trusting you. They respect you more. You become a pillar. Someone who can handle pressure. Someone who doesn't need applause or perfection to maintain good energy. That kind of presence takes time to build. But once it's part of you, it speaks louder than words. So learn to smile, not because life is perfect, but because you're getting better at facing it. Learn to keep your posture, not because it's easy, but because it keeps you strong. Learn to show up steady and clear, even when your plans shift and your emotions want to take over. That ability to smile through it without pretending is a quiet kind of mastery. It's what separates those who are led by life from those who lead themselves. And once you've built it, it doesn't go away easily. It stays with you. It becomes part of you. And it keeps you steady when others fall apart. Number 6, let your actions show strength, not your pain. People remember how you carried yourself, not how much you said you were hurting. Everyone goes through difficulties, but what sets certain people apart is how they choose to respond. You don't need to announce your struggle every time you face one. If you keep moving forward, if you keep showing up, if you handle your work, your life, and your values with discipline, the message becomes clear. People notice. They see you're made of something solid. That kind of presence comes not from emotion, but from strength. And that strength speaks louder than any words ever could. You don't have to wear your pain like a badge. There's no reward for being loud about your suffering. Life gives all of us pain. Some carry it and break down. Others carry it and build something with it. That's the difference. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about refusing to let your pain control your behavior. When you keep walking while others are collapsing, that becomes your story. Not because you explained it, but because you showed it. Strength doesn't need applause. It just needs to be real. And real strength is revealed through action, not noise. Sometimes it's better to go silent and work. Let your performance speak. Let your consistency speak. Let your attitude speak. Anyone can complain. Anyone can point out the pain. But the person who shows up, focused, steady, and unshaken, that's rare. That's who gets remembered. No one is asking you to be perfect. You're allowed to feel everything. But you're also responsible for what you do with those feelings. Your actions will either add weight to your problems or rise above them. Choose the second option. Because it builds a life of respect, earned quietly through how you live. The loudest one in the room isn't always the strongest. In fact, the strongest people usually don't say much. They're too busy making progress. If you've been through something tough and you're still moving forward, that says everything. You don't need to explain. You don't need to convince anyone. You're not looking for sympathy. You're building resilience. You're proving that your pain didn't stop you. That kind of message gets delivered without words. Every time you meet your goals, every time you remain composed, every time you keep growing, let the strength do the talking. It's far more effective. There's a dignity in holding your ground, not because you're ignoring the struggle, but because you've made a decision not to let it define you. There will always be an urge to shout your pain, to tell the world how hard things are, but over time, that becomes your identity if you're not careful. Choose something better. Let your identity be tied to how you rose, not how you suffered. People respect resilience more than they respect victimhood. They look to those who kept their values when it was difficult, who held themselves together while they rebuilt what was lost. Emotion without structure leaves you scattered, but strength through action gives your pain direction. Use what you feel, not to gain sympathy, but to gain focus. The energy it takes to dwell on what went wrong can be redirected towards something meaningful. Maybe not all at once, but moment by moment. Take your pain and put it to work. That means showing up when it's easier to stay home. That means keeping promises to yourself when no one would blame you for quitting. That's how your struggle becomes useful, by turning into action that improves your future. There's no need to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to show off how strong you are. True strength doesn't come with a loud voice. It comes with steady work. It comes with patience. It comes with holding yourself to a standard, even when no one is clapping. You might be carrying a heavy load, but if you keep moving forward without complaining, people will notice. Not right away, but over time. And they'll trust you. They'll believe in you, not because of what you said, but because of what you demonstrated. That kind of respect can't be bought. It's earned. The hard truth is most people won't understand what you're going through, and they don't have to. You don't need them to. What you need is clarity about who you want to become. If you let your pain run the show, your life will always revolve around damage control. But if you let discipline take the lead, your life will start to reflect your values, not your circumstances. That's the shift. From reaction to intention. From being stuck to being steady. Your pain doesn't have to disappear for your actions to show strength. You just need to stop letting pain lead the way. You can feel every ounce of what you're going through and still make powerful choices. This isn't about hiding. It's about rising. It's about deciding that your story will not end with struggle. It will continue with effort, with small steps, with consistent behavior that matches the kind of future you're trying to build. That's where strength grows. Not in shouting, but in building. You don't owe the world your pain. You owe yourself the discipline to turn it into something useful. And if you do that, you'll become the kind of person who walks through fire and builds something better on the other side. People won't always remember what you said, but they will remember what you did. They'll remember how you showed up in the middle of your storm, not with drama, not with complaints, but with calm and conviction. You've got a choice. Let pain become your story or let strength become your legacy. Every action you take writes that story, so make it count. Keep showing strength. Not because life is easy, but because you've decided to grow anyway. You don't need sympathy. You need movement. You need growth. And once you choose that path, everything about your life starts changing. Quietly, consistently, powerfully. Number 7, let silence be your strength, not your weakness. There's a kind of strength that doesn't need a microphone. It doesn't need to defend itself or seek attention. It stands quietly. It watches. It listens. That's the kind of silence most people don't understand. They think silence is weakness, that if you're not speaking, you're surrendering. But that's not the case. Silence is often the mark of someone who's in control. Someone who doesn't need to prove themselves to anyone. When you've trained yourself to hold your peace in the middle of chaos, you're already stronger than those who need noise to feel significant. Some people waste so much time trying to win arguments that don't matter. They speak to be heard, not to create impact. They shout opinions in rooms where no one is listening. They think volume equals power, but volume is just energy with no direction. Silence, when used wisely, is power with focus. It creates space for clarity. It forces others to slow down. It removes emotional reaction from the moment. And when used in the right situations, it carries more weight than any speech. That's what real strength looks like. Measured, intentional, and reserved for what truly matters. It's not about being passive or avoiding confrontation. There's a difference between silence born of fear and silence built from self-control. When you choose to say nothing, not out of insecurity, but because you've already made your point with your presence, that's maturity. That's discipline. You walk away from meaningless arguments. You listen longer than you speak. You wait for the right moment instead of reacting to the wrong one. And in that waiting, you gain something rare: perspective. Silence gives you time to evaluate, not escalate. And that habit gives you a serious edge in a world full of reaction. There's a time to speak and a time to hold back. Knowing the difference is part of wisdom. If you always speak when emotions are high, your words lose power. But when you know how to pause, to think, to gather yourself first, your words become sharper, fewer, and more respected. People begin to listen differently when they know you don't speak just to fill space. They understand that when you talk, it means something. Silence isn't weakness, it's a filter. And those who learn how to use that filter well end up being trusted far more than those who talk constantly. Holding silence when provoked takes real discipline, especially when you know you could respond, when you have the facts, when you've got something to say. But sometimes the smartest move is no move, not because you're afraid to respond, but because it's not worth the energy. You protect your peace. You choose your battles. You stop giving every situation the same emotional investment. And that's not avoidance. That's mastery. It's a sign that you've matured past the need to win every moment. Some of the strongest people in the world are the ones who don't react but rise above it. When you stay quiet in moments that trigger others, you show a different kind of leadership. You're not there to be louder, you're there to be wiser. In high-pressure situations, people are drawn to calm. They trust the one who's not easily rattled. They remember the person who didn't add noise to the storm. And while others may forget who shouted the loudest, they'll remember who stayed grounded when things got messy. That's the value of silence. It leaves a mark without needing applause, and that mark stays longer than most people realize. Think of the energy you save by not speaking into every conflict. You don't need to respond to every criticism. You don't need to correct every misunderstanding. You don't owe your emotions to every conversation. When you stay silent by choice, you're not avoiding the world. You're conserving your power. That power builds up. It sharpens your focus. It strengthens your posture. And when you do decide to speak, it lands differently because people know you mean it. You didn't speak because you had to. You spoke because it mattered. That difference is what turns silence into strength. Sometimes silence is your best teacher. In stillness, you begin to notice what's usually missed. You start hearing your own thoughts more clearly. You stop reacting out of habit. You begin making choices with precision instead of panic. Those who rush to speak often miss what silence could have taught them. But the person who pauses grows. They gain understanding, depth, and insight that others overlook. And those insights create results. Not noise, not applause, but progress. Real growth doesn't always come with sound. Sometimes it comes with a quiet shift in how you carry yourself every day. You'll face moments where people expect a reaction. They'll push your buttons. They'll provoke you to see if they can pull you out of character. But staying silent in those moments doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've won without needing to fight. That's a different kind of victory, not the kind that needs witnesses, the kind that leaves you with peace. When your silence is intentional, it becomes your shield. It protects your time, your energy, your focus. You become less predictable, more disciplined, and harder to manipulate, and that makes you stronger than most people around you. You weren't meant to respond to everything. You were meant to grow past certain things. Silence helps you do that. It lets you outgrow small thinking. It frees you from emotional traps. It builds an inner stillness that isn't shaken by criticism or distraction. You're not quiet because you don't have anything to say. You're quiet because your peace matters more than being right. Your vision matters more than being heard in the moment. And once that becomes your standard, your silence no longer looks like weakness. It becomes a signal of strength, of discipline, and of someone who's truly in control. Number 8, walk into the day like nothing can stop you. The first few minutes of your morning set the tone for the rest of the day. If you start with hesitation, doubt follows. But if you wake up with a decision, an internal choice that says, today I am unshakable, your whole posture changes. That doesn't mean the day will be perfect. It means you will not fold. You walk into it like a person with something to do, not with ego, but with focus. The world can't offer that to you. You bring it with you. That mindset alone can shift your life from survival to control. Confidence doesn't come from loud speeches or inflated promises. It comes from preparation. When you've done the work, when you've shown up even on the rough days, you earn the right to walk with quiet certainty. That confidence is built in silence and revealed in movement. So when you step into your day, you carry the discipline of yesterday. You carry your focus, your habits, your decisions. You don't walk in hoping it goes well. You walk in knowing you're ready to face whatever it brings. That posture is power, not borrowed, built. There's no need to announce your arrival when your energy speaks first. You don't have to convince the room you belong. Your actions, your posture, your presence do it for you. When you walk into the day like nothing can stop you, people feel it. You don't need noise to prove your intent. You just move forward with steadiness, with clear eyes and a calm mind. You show up with a purpose and you protect it from distractions. That's not attitude. That's self-respect. And people begin to notice it without you saying a word. Some people wait for the day to give them a reason to feel strong. They scroll, they wait for the right message or the right mood. But the real game starts before the day even begins. You decide how you'll enter it. You don't wait for perfect timing. You show up and bring your standards with you. When you walk with that mindset, setbacks become signals, not threats. You adjust, but you don't retreat. You keep moving with intent, not emotion. That mental sharpness separates people who rise from those who repeat the same cycle. The clock doesn't care about how you feel. The world isn't going to stop for you to get motivated. So when you build the habit of entering the day with forward motion, you don't waste time waiting for ideal conditions. You already have your plan. You already have your system. So while others are still deciding how they feel, you're already taking action. That small difference compounds. That consistency leads to something solid. And once that mindset becomes part of you, you no longer need energy from the outside. You bring your own fire. People respect the one who moves with clarity. You don't have to talk big. You don't have to prove your importance. You just show up every day with full responsibility for how you think, how you speak, how you work. That discipline becomes your edge. The room senses it. You're not chaotic. You're composed. Not because everything's easy, but because you've trained yourself not to flinch. That kind of presence builds over time. Every time you walk in with poise, you reinforce the standard you live by. And soon, you no longer fear the day. You own it. Life rewards those who take charge before the world makes demands. You can either start the day with a mission, or you can spend it reacting to everyone else's plans. Those who win don't drift. They direct. They walk with purpose, not rushed, not frantic, but intentional. They already know what matters, so they don't waste time on what doesn't. That's the difference. That's the quiet strength that fuels progress. And when you build that rhythm, you begin to create results that others notice but can't explain. They just know you move different. No one's coming to carry you through the hard parts. That's your job. So instead of walking into the day hoping everything goes smoothly, walk in prepared to handle what comes. Not everything will go your way. That's normal. What matters is that you don't let it change your focus. You stay the same person no matter what shows up. That's maturity. That's emotional muscle. When people around you are shaken, your steadiness becomes your signature. And it's earned by showing up like nothing can stop you, not because nothing can, but because you refuse to be moved easily. Walking into the day like you're unstoppable isn't arrogance, it's clarity. You've decided what your priorities are. You've set the tone with your habits. You've made peace with the fact that discomfort is part of growth. So when the unexpected shows up, you don't panic. You pivot, you deal with it. But you don't stop. That rhythm, built over time, becomes who you are. You're not chasing motivation anymore. You're following discipline. And that discipline lets you hold your ground while others look for shortcuts. That's how progress is made. One focused day at a time. By the time others are hesitating, you've already started. You've already committed. You don't need perfect timing or special motivation to get going. You decided long before the sun came up. This day is yours. You'll bring your best. You'll keep your word. And if you fall behind, you'll catch up without drama. That's the mindset of someone who's serious about growth. Not loud, not desperate, just deliberate. That quiet determination is what shapes a successful life. So when your feet hit the floor tomorrow morning, walk like it's already yours. Because the ones who move with purpose always lead the way. Number 9, display confidence when everything tries to shake it. Confidence is most meaningful when it's challenged. Anyone can appear strong when things are easy. But real strength is tested when your plans fall apart, when pressure hits unexpectedly, when others doubt you, and when you start to doubt yourself. That's when your confidence becomes a decision, not a feeling. And if you've built it right, not on ego or fake belief, but on personal responsibility, preparation, and discipline, it holds steady. You might feel fear internally, but externally you remain composed. That quiet composure is powerful, not because you're pretending, but because you've earned the right to stand your ground. The difference between a confident person and a reactive one shows up the moment adversity enters the room. You'll notice it. One folds under pressure. The other adjusts without losing poise. It's not that confident people don't feel the chaos. It's that they don't allow the chaos to manage them. They control their response. That response becomes their identity. Confidence, then, is not loud. It doesn't demand recognition. It operates on clarity. When everything around them shakes, they remain grounded. Not through luck, not through words, but through practiced emotional control. That's how leadership begins and how it earns long-term respect. You're going to face days that challenge everything you thought you had figured out. What matters is how you respond. Not how you feel, how you respond. Confidence in those moments isn't about smiling or pretending. It's about staying rooted in your principles. It's about knowing what you stand for and staying aligned with it. You don't change your tone every time the wind shifts. You don't let people's panic become your blueprint. When everyone else is scrambling, your ability to remain consistent, measured, calm, and focused speaks louder than any motivational phrase. It tells the world this person knows where they're going. Some moments will test your balance. You'll get blindsided. A decision won't go your way. The phone call you didn't expect comes in. You feel it hit, and it's real. That's not the time to collapse. That's the moment you hold posture. Keep your face steady. Breathe slower. Speak with clarity. One well-placed, calm decision can turn a bad day into progress. That's what confident people do. They don't avoid discomfort. They carry themselves with stability while others shake. And you don't get there by chance. You get there by deciding in advance who you'll be when pressure shows up. Confidence isn't arrogance. Arrogance demands to be seen. Confidence remains steady, whether it's noticed or not. You don't need a crowd. You don't need validation. What you need is preparation. If you've done the work, if you've built your skills, managed your habits, faced yourself in silence, you won't flinch when tension rises. You'll act. You'll lead. And people will notice, even if they don't say anything. They'll feel safer around you. Because in a world full of panic, the person who can remain still, mentally, emotionally, and behaviorally, has power. That power doesn't come from talking. It comes from showing you can handle weight. You'll meet situations that don't announce themselves. They hit fast. And when they do, the real you will show up. If you've trained your reactions, you won't panic, you won't freeze, you'll assess, you'll pivot. That response speaks volumes. It shows that your confidence wasn't surface level. It came from layers of discipline, from the work you did when no one was watching. Most people talk about staying calm under pressure. Few people build the habit. Fewer still do it consistently. When you show up composed during a moment that would rattle most, you've already set yourself apart. Every challenge is an invitation to demonstrate growth. Don't just aim to get through the chaos. Use it to prove something to yourself. The goal isn't to be unaffected. It's to be in charge of your actions despite the tension. When things get shaky and your emotions start rising, slow it all down. Respond with control. Show that you can keep your voice level. Show that you can hold the same tone when things go wrong that you had when they were going right. That's not just confidence. That's character. And character earns something that confidence alone never can. Trust. When you display confidence during stress, you're not just managing yourself. You're influencing everyone around you. People borrow emotional cues from others. If you collapse, they follow. If you lead with clarity, they follow that too. That's why your energy matters. When your composure holds, others find their footing. That doesn't mean you have to know every answer. It means you're grounded enough to look for solutions without losing control. That quality changes environments. It sets a tone. And in time, people start turning to you when things go wrong. Not because you're perfect, but because you're stable. The habits you build during calm seasons determine how you carry yourself when everything goes wrong. If you want to hold your confidence during storms, you need to practice self-discipline when skies are clear. That means managing your time, keeping your word, staying focused. Because when pressure hits, you won't rise to the occasion. You'll fall to the level of your preparation. The work you do behind the scenes matters. It's not about being seen. It's about becoming the person who doesn't have to panic. When you've built your structure right, it shows up exactly when you need it. Make it your goal to be unshaken. Not because nothing happens, but because nothing owns you. Decide today how you'll carry yourself when things go sideways. Make it non-negotiable. Your energy is your responsibility. Your words, your tone, your presence, they're all part of your message, especially in pressure. Choose to represent clarity. Choose to lead by example. Confidence doesn't need to convince anyone. It simply shows up and handles what's in front of it. And when you live that way, you won't just gain results. You'll gain respect, peace, and a kind of self-trust that can't be shaken by anything outside you. Number 10, stay in control when things don't go your way. Life won't always follow your plan. That's not negative thinking. That's preparation. The earlier you accept that reality, the faster you'll start building the mindset that handles pressure with clarity. When something breaks your routine, or delays your goal, or flips your day upside down, the last thing you want to lose is control. Losing your attitude doesn't fix the problem. Reacting emotionally won't move you forward. Your ability to remain grounded while adjusting your direction is what keeps you ahead. Control isn't about everything working perfectly. It's about you deciding how you'll respond when it doesn't. Nothing reveals character faster than a day that goes wrong. People can look confident when things are easy, but the moment life says not today, their habits, attitude, and preparation become visible. If you've trained your mind, if you've developed the skill of pausing before reacting, if you've practiced keeping your energy clear when tension rises, you'll navigate the situation differently. You'll slow down when others speed up. You'll respond with thought instead of frustration, and more often than not, You'll end the day stronger than you started. Not because it was easy, but because you stayed steady. Remaining in control doesn't mean ignoring how you feel. It means not allowing your feelings to take over your decisions. There's a moment between reaction and response where power lives. It's that pause, that half second where you breathe, think, and choose clarity over chaos. That habit doesn't show up by accident. You build it. You build it on small days so it shows up on hard ones. You build it by refusing to throw away your discipline when life throws you inconvenience. And that consistency gives you control, even when your plans fall apart in front of you. Everyone has expectations, but not everyone is ready when those expectations are broken. The person who has built emotional discipline doesn't panic. They know plans are useful, but adaptability is essential. They see disruption as part of the process, not the end of it. And instead of falling apart, they pivot. They adjust their steps without destroying their progress. That's the kind of mindset that leads to real progress. It's built from daily reminders that life doesn't owe you predictability. And since that's true, it's smarter to master your response than try to control the uncontrollable. You'll face moments that test your patience, your energy, and your focus. A client cancels, a plan falls through, a conversation turns sideways. It happens to everyone. But what makes the difference is how long you stay off track. If you let one event throw off your entire day, you haven't yet learned control. A strong person doesn't allow small interruptions to hijack their emotions. They notice the disruption, make adjustments, and return to their work. They don't need things to go perfectly. They just need enough awareness to keep their behavior in line with their values. You won't gain anything valuable if every time something feels uncomfortable, you react with frustration. Control is a quiet power. It keeps you moving when distraction is loud. It keeps your posture strong when emotions rise. And more importantly, it keeps your attention on solutions instead of problems. Let others overreact. Let them panic. Let them rush into poor decisions. You don't need to follow them. You can be the one who stays centered, not because you don't feel pressure, but because you've practiced not letting pressure dictate your day. That's what maturity does. It holds the line. Some people carry the belief that being emotional equals being strong, but strength is not measured by how loud your feelings are. It's measured by how well you lead yourself when those feelings are loud. Staying in control doesn't mean being cold. It means being clear. Your words remain clean. Your attitude remains respectful. Your decisions remain responsible. And when others watch how you carry yourself through moments of difficulty, you teach something silently. You teach that control is possible. That even when the external environment shifts, the internal foundation doesn't have to crack with it. Discipline isn't just about your schedule or habits. It's about how you carry yourself when the results don't come. It's easy to stay sharp when the outcome matches the effort. But what about when it doesn't? That's when many start to drift. They let disappointment become bitterness. They trade composure for complaints. But the ones who hold control see it differently. They take the lesson and keep moving. They don't allow failure to change who they are. That mindset doesn't develop overnight. It grows with time, with honesty, and with the daily choice to stay composed in difficulty. The more often you hold yourself together when things don't go your way, the more confidence you build. Not fake confidence, earned confidence. Confidence that comes from knowing you didn't let your emotions run your day. And over time, people notice, not because you say something about it, but because your presence communicates it. You walk differently. You speak with calm authority. You become someone others look to when things go sideways. And not because you have all the answers, but because you've built the kind of internal strength that doesn't shake easily. You don't get to choose what happens, but you always choose how to respond. That's your edge. When things break, you don't. When others fall apart, you stay rooted. When the day flips, your discipline stays in place. That ability is what builds a solid life. A consistent life. Not one without trouble, but one where the trouble doesn't own you. Stay in control. Not for the show, not for the approval, for your own growth, for your own peace. Because the person who keeps their behavior aligned when the world doesn't, that's the person who always finds a way forward. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to explain every struggle or emotion. What you need is control. What you need is clarity. You've now seen how to carry yourself with strength, even when life tries to shake you. That's not about pretending. It's about becoming. Becoming someone who acts with calm when there's pressure. Someone who finishes what they start, no matter how they feel. That kind of discipline builds real confidence. It builds character, and it separates the ones who only talk from the ones who rise. So, don't wait for the world to treat you right. Don't wait for life to get easier. Train your mind. Control your response. Let your strength speak for you. From this moment forward, act like nothing can stop you, and watch what happens next. The world respects the calm, steady one. Be that person.